Welcome to the We Don't Have Time Climate Hub here at the COP29 in Baku, very close to the Caspian Sea. We are well past the halfway mark of the COP, but we still have plenty of fantastic interviews, plenty of recessions, and much more to offer you here and from our studio. So Nick, what's on the roster today?
Well, I was going to actually answer that question, but I think more importantly, we have to note that it may well be that the governments here at COP29 in Baku have actually agreed a sum of support for the developing countries of over $1 trillion per year. This is what we were hearing within the last hour. We'll have to see that pans out during the day. And of course, there's still the plenary on Friday when the governments have to actually gavel it through. Mm-hmm. But if that's the case, then this would be a major breakthrough here at COP29.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to mention that's on the roster?
Yeah, we've got some great guests on from UNDP actually talking about finance, how to get it right, the UN Development Programme, and how it can empower countries to adopt more ambitious climate plans. As we heard today from the Minister of the Environment of Madagascar, who we did a pre-record with, he knows exactly how much his country needs, and it's not eye-watering, but it would make such a difference.
Thank you, Nick. So Ingmar, Rentzhog, CEO and co-founder of We Don't Have Time. What are your thoughts on the progress so far here in Baku?
I mean, we don't know the progress yet because it's not over. But I'm first, when I came here, I was very optimistic because I thought this would be a very depressing gathering where people were kind of in a low bottom mood. The US election didn't go in the climate direction, and we have a lot of problems. But it was actually positive energy and action. People are just carrying on as if the US election didn't even exist. That is, of course, in one way very positive. But now when the kind of negotiations are getting a little bit stuck, we're not progressing, we don't know where this ends. Maybe it ends in some very good way, doesn't see yet. We see now that some climate ministers are coming back to Baku to get the negotiation moving further. I miss something, and I miss it from the people here, also on our own show, etc. It's not the optimism I'm talking about. It's I miss the crisis mentality. We are just living like this is going in the. It's not going well. There's actually a report that came out yesterday, or if it was this morning, saying that we're not flattening out the emissions.
Still rising.
It's still rising. We're in the mid-century. We need to halve the emission before 2030, and the emission in the year 2024 are still rising. We have a president in the United States that will probably leave the Paris Agreement for a second term, and the emissions are rising, and people are not in a crisis mode. I mean, I want to see a little bit more reaction here. You need to face the reality in order to solve the reality. We can't ignore it. Last COP, I was talking about the elephant in the room. That was the fossil fuel discussion. We had that. The elephant came out. Now the fossil fuel are discussed at those meetings. This COP, we have Donald Trump. And people are just avoiding the topic of talking about him. And it's also this narrative that the big COP will be in Brazil in COP30 next year. We don't have a year, and the world will not look the same 1 year from now in politics. It will be much harder. So we have one chance here to really do something when we have all countries still in the Paris Agreement. We must take that chance. And in order to do that, we need to be a little bit more crisis mode, I believe.
Good. So, one thing we have been doing, though, and we're trying to move the needle on climate action through the lens of methane and through a lens of a campaign called Buy More Time. And Ingmar, briefly, Buy More Time for the viewers that haven't yet tuned in and this is their first day.
Yeah, so Buy More Time, it's about realizing that it will be very, very hard to halve the emission before 2030. And if we don't do that, we will risking the tipping points, we will risk the 1.5 degree target, and it will be very, very hard to solve the climate crisis. So we really need to figure out how we can do it. And Buy More Time is actually a solution campaign whereby we can also focus on the short-lived climate gases. And if we cut those short-lived climate gases, we are buying more time to do everything else. So we are in troubled political world right now. So if we are sprinting, running faster on focusing on cutting the short-lived climate gases, we can buy ourselves time that we can use to do everything we want to do. Because it's one thing certain, and that is everyone right here. We are moving into a decarbonized society. The only problem is that it's happening too slow and too late, but it's going to happen. So if we just get a little bit more time to do it, we will do it. So Buy More Time is the solution campaign that can do the action despite the political mood we are in, because just keep going with COP100 will not solve this.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Ingmar. And if you're curious to learn more about this campaign or to support it, we do need support. Please go to our webpage, wedonthavetime.org/buy more time and check it out and sign it, because this is really crucial. In the meantime, let's take a look at the presentation that Ingmar Rentzhog did recently at the Tech Arena in Stockholm.
This is the climate crisis today. We're kind of leaning backwards. And the more emission we put up there, the more we're leaning it. But we can still do this, right? The problem, if we pass 1.5 degree, and we're very near, we're kind of there, but if we stay there and we just keep going up, there is a big, big risk of hitting a tipping point. And when we hit a tipping point, this share will be very, very hard to put back up. So this is what we must avoid for the climate. And we have a cure for this. The only thing we need in order to make it is more time. We need to buy more time. And now we feel the resistance from the politicians. But when we're up here, they will not resist the green transition, because the green transition are the majority. So the policy will change when the technology changes, but we need more time. So how can we get more time? The problem with carbon dioxide, when we emit it, it will go up. And it will stay up there for up to 1,000 years. Maybe we can kind of try to remove it, but it looks kind of hard to do it, very expensive. Methane is another greenhouse gas. It's a very common greenhouse gas. It's the second biggest contributor to global warming. And there's a big difference between methane and carbon dioxide. When we release this, it comes down again. On average 12 years. It's a big difference between 1,000 years, 12 years. So the solution here is that we need to stop emit methane. And if we do that, we can actually reverse global warming with up to 0.5 degrees. That is the time we need to do everything else, because we still need to stop the carbon dioxide. So this is great news. And where does this methane come from? This is one of the sources. Bananas. Waste, food waste. 20% of methane emission comes from waste. But guess what? When I arrived here this morning, I took the bus, and the bus in Sweden, in Stockholm, are powered with bioenergy. We don't emit hardly any methane from waste. So other countries can do the same. 45% from methane comes from the fossil fuel industry. And this is a lot of emission that is really easy to fix. It's just fix the pipe. Cows are burping 4 times every 5 minutes. Agriculture adds up to 40% of the methane emissions. Many companies working on this, where you have a food additive, and you give that to the cows, and they burp up to 80% less. So what do we need? We need to look at the fridge. All the fridges we had when I was a kid were powered by a dangerous gas. And when that was released up in the air, it was destroying the ozone layer. If we hadn't fixed it, we will not be able to walk outside today and show naked skin. But we're not doing that because the industry, the manufacturers of the fridges, the chemical companies, and bold world leaders met in Montreal, where they decided to ban freons, phase it out, put the funding behind it, and today we have perfectly fresh food and we don't use freon anymore. Isn't it great? It saved humanity once, so we can do it twice. And there is one more thing. This year in Mars, there was a new satellite launched that is called the Methane satellite. And it will measure open data where we have emission from methane, leakage, and we will know exactly where we need to fix the problem. We don't have that for any other climate gases, but we have it for methane. So a legal system, some funding, and the data is everything we need. And this is what Buy More Time is all about. We can do this.